warrant out for his arrest. What's that warrant for again?
Our exercise all starts here.
This is an absolute robbery.
Who else? Seriously, who else would have been poised to score an absolute legendary goal to win a series sweep for the 8th seed Florida Panthers, sending them to the Stanley Cup Final at home after already having 2 overtime winners in this series, one of which was a 4 OT. Matthew Tkachuk has been on another planet this entire playoffs, this entire season, career high in points. I honestly I can't believe that he did it again, especially after all the years in Calgary where he was talked about, he doesn't really show up in the playoffs, or he really needs to have a defining playoff performance. Well, bam, there it is, and it's in the Florida sun, man. And it's nuts, because even though Tkachuk was the only thing going to Florida in the trade, and the Flames got, Huberdeau, Weegar, a first-round pick, and Cole Schmidt. By the way, that first-round pick was given for free to the Montreal Canadiens to take Sean Monahan. So this trade, even with all of that haul that Calgary got, looks like an absolute robbery for the Florida Panthers, because Matthew Tkachuk now is not going to have that label of, can he do it in the playoffs? No. He absolutely dominated this entire playoff run. Might well win the Conn Smythe if it's not Bobrovsky. And honestly, I'm back and forth, because one day I'm like, it's got to be Bobrovsky. He's guaranteed Conn Smythe winner if they win. And then another day I'm like, it's got to be Tkachuk. Look at all the clutch goals he's scoring. So honestly, let me know in the comments down below, who's your Conn Smythe winner? Is it Tkachuk or is it Bob, and why? But I feel so bad for Jonathan Huberdeau right now, who was with that Panthers team through thick and thin for almost a decade and has to watch this now. I mean, his lasting memory with the Florida Panthers is getting swept by the Lightning, then goes and becomes the whipping boy for the Calgary Flames, and then now has to watch this in the playoffs. And not only is the team that he was with for so long going to the Cup Final, the guy he was...
Yeah, Huberdeau has to sit at home and watch Tkachuk go on to the finals, see his team that he was with for all those years go to the final round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I think the Panthers are going to win the Stanley Cup.
Traded for is leading the charge. That is that's not even salt in the wound. It's literally stabbing the wound. And honestly, I really hope Hubie has a really good season next year. And I'm sure a lot of Florida Panthers fans are also pulling for Huberdeau to have a bounce-back season next year, because they love the guy. And, man, if you don't feel bad for him, you don't have a heart, man. This must be really hard for him. But on the Tkachuk side of things, this looks like an absolute steal right now. Hopefully I won't be saying that next year, because I'm hoping Weegar, Huberdeau have bounce-back seasons, and maybe Schwentz can make the league.
Someone sits down next to you in a 5-hour flight. Your worst nightmare is that they're wearing
Axe body spray. I imagine it was probably not a super fun night to be a paid home fan at tonight's Dallas Stars game. I think it was well summed up by this play. With 20 seconds left in the second period, Max Domi decides to cross-check Haig in the back of the head, knocking him over and onto the ice. Haig gets up, the whistle is blown for the penalty on Domi, who has already lost it, and goes after Haig with a couple of greasy slugs that would net him 2 minor penalties and a 10-minute misconduct. You gotta love Haig here the whole time Domi's trying to get him. He's just laughing. He hits him with the Don Cherry thumbs up as he watches Dallas continue to rack up penalty minutes. And here's when the clown cart rolled into the stadium. When they announced the penalties for Domi, the crowd absolutely lost their mind and started raining down booze and trash onto the ice. You can see pop, beer cans. The commentator said someone chucked their fries on the ice. That's $20 not super well spent. Stars fans, you just can't do that. And in your own barn. You may be upset being 2-0 in the series and 4-0 down in this game, but when your player gets penalized for a greasy hit, not the first of the game also, as Jamie Benn was out like 2 minutes in, your response shouldn't be that. It actually ended up getting so bad that they phoned it into Toronto, and the second period was called off. With the 20 seconds left left in the frame, being played at the beginning of the third, which was kind of funny to watch out. I actually didn't think they'd stop the clock, but they did. By the time the third started, it looked like most of the clowns had left because it was pretty much a ghost town in the stands. But I think leaving may have been the right call, as 4-0 would be the final of the game, as Aiden Hill earned his first career playoff shutout with the Golden Knights now taking a commanding 3-0 series lead. For goals, it all started on the first shot of the game as Jonathan Marchessault gets his 7th off a nice feed from Eichel, 1-0. Then, as I mentioned, Jamie Benn has that crazy cross.
They'll have, for the first time ever, a sweep in the East and West Conference.
Check on Stone. He'd get 5 in a game. He's gone. Bye-bye, captain. And, of course, Vegas strikes on the power play. After a decent start to the penalty kill, a laser by Barbashev would make it 2-0. He had a great game, by the way. 1 goal, 2 apples. Then, a backhand over Otter's shoulder. He should have had that one. He doesn't. His night's done. 3 goals on 5 shots. Yikes. Then Pietrangelo gets one in the second at the end of a power play to make it 4-0. Vegas gets very comfortable in this one, and Dallas is pushed to the 3-0 series deficit. This has never been overcame in a conference final, but we're sitting at 3-0 in each conference. If any playoffs we're ever going to see one of these comebacks, I think it would be this year. But do you think it's
Mystic Clean Multi-Surface Liquid Cleaner. Enjoy the long-lasting freshness long after the clean.
What a series. The Florida Panthers technically just swept the Carolina Hurricanes, but this one was close. All 4 games decided by 1 goal, 2 by overtime, including that epic nearly 5 overtime game 1. And of course, this one, the deciding game, came down to it, and who would end it but Matthew Tkachuk with his 3rd game-winning goal of the series. There's a minute left. Both teams are pressing one of the 3 Stahl brothers. Jordan this time takes a penalty, kind of careless.
Brady Tkachuk is just watching his brother in the playoffs.
With a stick, it is a trip there, and with mere seconds left in the period, Florida's pressing, Reinhart hits the post, Barkov collects it, finds Tkachuk behind the net, who dangles out front and pots it. The emotion on everyone here, just amazing to see. But that's the end. This whole game really was worth talking about, so we'll start from the very beginning, and Duclair, 41 seconds in, opened the scoring. Carolina knocks down a dumping. This one may have even been icing. There's a mess in front of the net. Duclair picks the puck up and roofs it. In that same period, Aho takes a really dumb penalty completely away from the puck, and Old West caught it, of course, and Florida has the chance to put the game in a very dangerous place considering how Bob has been playing early on. Bennett would get a chance, but generally I thought this was a pretty good penalty kill by Carolina. Very high energy. They were tracking the puck, but were probably chasing a bit too much, and Tkachuk in front of the net would pick up a loose puck that Burns was actually in a position to stop, but, that's how it goes. 2-0. Crazy enough, that was the first 2-goal lead in the entire series. 3 minutes later, Florida managed to kill off a penalty. However, a shot from the blue line would sneak by Bob, and Paul Stastny would finish it off 2-1. The first saw not only scoring, but lots of physicality. The big highlight was his hit on Jacob Slavin by Bennett. Slavin's wheeling around the net. Bennett comes in and just smacks him. It looks to me like Slavin loses consciousness here. I think he hit the boards and probably the ice as well. He would not return. Just a reminder, even a clean hit can have bad consequences. 2 minutes in, though, Carolina would get a little bit of luck as Tara Vinen would grab a loose puck off a broken stick and would tie the game 2-2. However, Florida would respond with my favorite goal of the game as their 4th line put in the calories. A bad zone entry by Carolina means that the puck is going the other way. Carolina almost clears it, but a hard-working Florida forecheck keeps the puck in the zone. Eric Stahl grabs a pass on the fly, turns around. Florida pulls off the beauty tic-tac-toe to make it 3-2. However, we know that's not where the drama would end, as Carolina would tie it with about 3 minutes left. However, this one was not destined for overtime. As we saw at the beginning of this video, Tkachuk would end it essentially with 3 seconds left. The The game would end with what is always a fun moment. The Eastern Conference Prince of Wales Trophy was awarded. Some teams will not touch it. Sort of a superstition. You want your first trophy you touch to be the cup. Florida, however, wasn't playing that. Not only did they get around and put their hands on the trophy, they actually picked it up and skated it back to their locker room. The announcers were saying at the end that Florida seems like a team of destiny. And I mean, how can you say otherwise? They've played 8 one-goal games now and won 7 of them. And I mean, there's also the fact that they were an 8th seed coming into the playoffs. Buffalo was 1 win against New Jersey in the last week of the season away from taking their spot. They had to face off against the Boston Bruins. They pretty much dismantled the entire Toronto Maple Leafs organization, and now they've just defeated what was the second best regular season Eastern Conference team, the Carolina Hurricanes. It seems like they'll be playing the Vegas Golden Knights in the finals. I think that's going to be incredibly entertaining, and I just didn't predict Florida being this fun to watch. I mean, who would have expected Bobrovsky to play so well? It's insane that Matthew Tkachuk is not the clear favorite for playoff MVP. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours below.
Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one.
These thoughts.